Hi, my name is Monica Cotton, and I'm a portrait photographer, high school photography teacher, and lifelong learner in the arts. Today I'm going to show you my process of editing a portrait in Adobe Photoshop. This is a portrait I took of my niece with my camera, which is a digital DSLR camera, and it looks like this. It's a 6D, and I use a lot of modern equipment and different lenses in the digital realm. But I thought it was interesting to look at the equipment we use now and compare it to some of the equipment of the past. For example, here is a Daguerreotype camera from 1839, and it took portraits that look similar to these. These are daguerreotypes here, and these were very popular of the time. They were like the first portraits that people could take of each other and their families and to have as keepsakes. Really, photography is a fairly new art. It's only been around for about 150 years, so it's pretty incredible the how far it's come in that time. Here's a film picture taken with film camera, and you can see the progression of the camera from there. And of course, in the film era, we used a darkroom to develop our portraits. And there wasn't a whole lot to do as far as touching up portraits. It's kind of like what you took with your camera is what you were kind of stuck with. Of course, you could lighten and darken certain areas, but today it's just amazing the things that we can do in Photoshop. So that's what I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through some of the steps that I'd use to edit a portrait in Photoshop. So first I like to clear up the skin and make it as flawless as possible, but without looking overly edited, for sure. I want it to still look natural. So I'm going to zoom in here, and what I'm going to do is I am going to create a duplicate layer. So press Command J so that I have the original image preserved and I'm not making adjustments to that. I use the patch tool to kind of get some of the under eye dark areas here. So I'm going to do that. And this can be a little bit drastic, so I'll show you how I turn this down in just a moment. You can sometimes see the little lines around this as well, so we'll fix those up. I use the spot healing brush to kind of get some of these little scratches and stuff that are on her face, maybe to blend some of these areas just a little. But like I said, I like to keep it nice and natural. That looks pretty good here. Okay, this is looking a little blotchy, but I'm going to fix that in just a second. So once I've got her all kind of cleared up, I am going to change the opacity of this top layer and kind of bring back some of the natural curvature and lines in her face. So this is after and this is before. So it definitely looks smoother and cleaner, and so that's a good thing. And then I'm just going to flatten this layer here, flatten the image so it's one layer. Next, I'm going to show you how I use some actions in Photoshop. So actions are a series of adjustment layers that are made into groups, and so it actually acts as like a filter on your photograph. So I've purchased some from Florabella, an online company, and it gives me all of these different sets of actions. So I can click on one of these actions in my actions panel and it will modify the picture. Sometimes it's a little bit harsh, so I'll show you how I change that up. So this Pandora effect, it kind of gave it a vintage look. So this is before and this is after. And sometimes it can be just a little bit too harsh. So I'll show you how I change that. I'm actually going to get rid of the Pandora and try something a little more vibrant. So I know that Allure is a little bit more vibrant action from Florabella, so we'll try that one. Okay, and this one can look a little bit too intense, so I'm going to tone that down, but it definitely enhances the color and makes it kind of bright and luminous. So this is before and this is after. Okay, so when I open up my layers panel, I can see every single layer adjustment that has been made with this Allure action here. So I can change all of these if I need to, and I like to change the opacity of them. So right here there's like a color pop that pops up here, and that's what's doing the really high saturation in color. So I'm going to bring that down just so it's not so bright. Maybe, I think that looks pretty good, like maybe 50% opacity, so it really brings out those colors still. It also tones down the reds and yellows, which is in this layer here, and I like to bring those back because I like the warmth in the photo. So it just makes a little more, her skin tone a little warmer, and I'm going to take down the cool filter as well. So I definitely always make adjustments to these, but you can, you know, add some more contrast with some dull pop, this company calls it that, or you could use the contrast layer. You can lighten or darken things. I think that this one might need to be darkened a little bit. Ah, that's a little too much. But I'm just playing with the layer opacity to kind of see which looks best. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to also close this folder here, the Allure folder, and then bring down the opacity of the entire action, just so it looks a little bit more natural. But this is after Allure, and this is before. So it really, really does make the skin more bright and luminous. I'm going to go up here, and there's also some kind of touch-up things as far as teeth whitening, eye brightening, and those kind of things. And I like to use the Quick Eye Sparkle, so I'm going to play that one. And I'm going to make sure that those are on top of the Allure. Oops. The Allure panel here. I need to step back here. I kind of just going to press Control Z to step back. And I'm going to just drag this down here. So I want to make sure that the eye brightening here, all over brightening and extra iris sparkle, is on top of the Allure folder there to make them work. So I'm going to go back to this and click on the layer mask. So here we're using layer masks. Right now the black is telling me that this all over brightening is not visible. And the way I can reveal this all over brightening is by using a, whoops, I'm just zooming in here, is by using a white paintbrush on the black layer mask. So this will reveal it. And so you can come in here and the opacity of my brush was kind of low. So I'm going to bring that up to 100% and you should be able to see a big difference there. So this just kind of brightens up the eye a little. Can you see it brightening there? And once again, I want to make sure it's natural and not too overly done. And then I can change the opacity in the layers and make it really much bolder or much softer. Her eyes are a little dark, so I'm going to kind of brighten that. Now here's a little extra iris sparkle. This really pops out some of the colors in the eyes. You have to be careful with these because it can make it look a little artificial. I also like to put the all over brightening on the teeth. Once you whiten eyes, sometimes the teeth tend to look a little bit dull in comparison. So these are still looking a little bit yellow. We'll see how it looks though when I zoom out. All right, that looks pretty good, pretty natural. Her eyes are a little bit bright and artificial, so I'm going to just bring down the opacity of some of that so they don't stand out too much. I don't want her to look like a vampire, but she has gorgeous eyes anyway. So you get something that looks like this. So still looking pretty natural. I'm going to go ahead and flatten this image. It's starting to become a very big file because I have all of these things open. So I'm just going to right click here and flatten the image. So it'll get rid of my layers, but that's okay. And now it's one layer again. I do see a little spot on her cheek here that I want to fix. So I'm going to go back to the spot healing brush and just kind of clean that up. But like I said, I like to leave her a little freckle and make her look as natural as possible. Now some of the final things I might do is kind of touch up some of these areas where her little flyaways of her hair are. So I will just hold Alt, use the clone stamp to do that. And I'll just kind of subtly, the opacity of my brush is only 40% right now, so it's kind of just subtly painting over some of those areas and softening those areas. Oops, if I make a mistake, I can always step back a few. And I have my history panel open here, which will allow me to kind of step back pretty easily from one application to another. So I'm just kind of slowly, subtly, I'm going to bring the opacity up a little more because it's not doing a very good job of covering. But here you can kind of see I'm just kind of smoothing away those flyaways. just some of them, because I want them to be natural. Okay, and then the final thing I'll do is I'll probably crop this a little bit tighter. On the edges of this, I have a little bit of a lens distortion from my camera. I'm just going to bring that in a little bit closer. And I like to follow the rule of thirds. So I like to have her eyes kind of on that 1/3 line, right in this intersecting point of this grid here. So if her eyes are right there, it just zooms it in a little closer, and it gives you more of a focal point on her face, which is really beautiful. So there's my edited photo after my edits, and then here's the before. Whoops. And then as you can see, the after.